The Apocrypha, Sirach, Ecclesiasticus, we're continuing on, starting with chapter 20. Chapter 20.1. There is a reproof that is not commonly. Again, some man holdeth his tongue, and he is wise. It is much better to reprove than to be angry secretly, and he that confesseth his fault shall be preserved from hurt. How good is it when thou art reproved to show repentance, for so shalt thou escape wilful sin. As is the lust of an eunuch to deflower a virgin, so is he that executed judgment with violence. There is one that keepeth silence, and is found wise, and another by much babbling becometh hateful. Some man holdeth his tongue because he had not to answer, and some keepeth silence, knowing his time. A wise man will hold his tongue till he see opportunity, but a babbler and a fool will regard no time. He that useth many words shall be abhorred, and he that taketh to himself authority therein shall be hated. There is a sinner that had good success in evil things, and there is a gain that turneth to loss. There is a gift that shall not profit thee, and there is a gift who recompenses double. There is an abasement because of glory, and there is that lifted up his head from a low estate. There is that buyeth much for a little, and repayeth in sevenfold. A wise man by his words maketh him beloved, but the graces of fools shall be poured out. The gift of a fool shall do thee no good when thou hast it, neither yet of the envious for his necessity, for he looketh to receive many things for one. He giveth little and upbraideth much, but he openeth his mouth like a crier. Today he lendeth, and tomorrow will he ask it again. Such an one is to be hated of mighty God Ahiah and man. The fool said, I have no friends, I have no thank for all my good deeds, and they that eat my bread speak evil of me. How oft and of how many shall he be laughed to scorn? For he knoweth not aright what it is to have, and it is all of unto him as it he had it not. To slip upon a pavement is better than to slip with the tongue, so the fall of the wicked shall come speedily. An unseasonable tale will always be in the mouth of the unwise. A wise sentence shall be rejected when it cometh out of a fool's mouth, for he will not speak it in due season. There is that it is hindered from sinning through one, and when he taketh rest, he shall not be troubled. There is that destroyeth his soul through bashfulness, and by accepting a person's overthroweth himself. There is that for bashfulness promiseth to his friend, and maketh him his enemy for nothing. A lie is a fool blot in a man, yet it continually in the mouth of an untaught. A thief is better than a man that is accustomed to lie, but they both shall have destruction to heritage. The disposition of a liar is dishonorable, and his shame is ever with him. A man shall promote himself to honor with his words, and he that had understanding will please great men. He that tilleth his land shall increase his heap, and he that pleaseth great men shall get pardon for iniquity. Presents and gifts blind the eyes of the wise, and stop up his mouth that he cannot reprove. Wisdom that is hid and treasure that is hoarded up, what profit is in them both? Better is he that hideth his folly than a man that hideth his wisdom. Necessary patience is seeking Ahiah is better than he that leadeth his life without a guide. My son, hast thou sinned? Do so no more, but ask pardon for thy former sins. Flee from the sin as from the face of a serpent, for if thou comest too near it, it will bite thee, the teeth thereof, or as teeth of a lion slaying the souls of men. All iniquity is a two-edged sword, the wounds whereof cannot be healed. To terrify and do wrong will waste riches, thus the house of proud men shall be made desolate. A prayer out of a poor man's mouth reacheth to the ear of mighty God Ahiah, and his judgment cometh speedily. He that hateth to be reproved is in the way of sinners, but he that feareth mighty God Ahiah will repent from his heart. An eloquent man is known far and near, but a man of understanding knoweth when he slip. He that buildeth his house with other men's money is like one that gathered himself stones for the tomb of his burial. The congregation of the wicked is like tow wrapped together, and the end of them is a flame of fire to destroy them. The way of sinners is made plain with stones, but at the end thereof is the pit of hell. He that keepeth the law of mighty God higher getteth the understanding thereof, and the perfection of the fear of the mighty God higher is wisdom. He that is not wise will not be taught, but there is a wisdom which multiplieth bitterness. The knowledge of a wise man shall abound like a flood, and his counsel is like a pure fountain of life. The inner parts of a fool are like a broken vessel, and he will hold no knowledge as long as he liveth. If a skillful man hear a wise word, he will commend it, and add unto it. But as soon as one of no understanding heareth it, it displeases him, and he casteth it behind his back. The talking of a fool is like a burden in the way, but grace shall be found in the lips of the wise. They inquire at the mouth of the wise man in the congregation, and they shall ponder his words in their heart. As is a house that is destroyed, so is wisdom to a fool, and the knowledge of the unwise is as talk without sense. Doctrine unto fools is as fetter of the feet, on the feet, and like manacles of the right hand. A fool lifted up his voice with laughter, but a wise man do scarce smile a little. Learning is unto a wise man as an ornament of gold, and like a bracelet upon his right hand. A foolish man's foot is soon in his neighbor's house, but a man of experience is ashamed of him. A fool will peep in at the door into the house, but he that is well nurtured will stand without. It is the rudeness of a man to hearken at the door, but a wise man will be grieved with the disgrace. The lips of talkers will be telling such things as pertain not unto them, but the words of such as have understanding are weighed in the balance. The heart of fools is in their mouth, but the mouth of the wise is in their heart. When the ungodly curses Satan, he curseth his own soul. A whisperer defileth his own soul, and is hated wherever so he dwelleth. A slothful man is compared to a filthy stone, and everyone will hiss him out to his disgrace. A slothful man is compared to the filth of a dunghill. Every man that takes it up will shake his hand. An evil-nurtured man is the dishonor of his father that begat him, and a foolish daughter is born to his loss. A wise daughter shall bring an inheritance to her husband, but she that liveth dishonestly is her father's heaviness. She that is bold dishonored both her father and her husband, but they both shall despise her. A tale out of season is as music in mourning, but stripes and correction of wisdom are never out of time. Whoso teacheth a fool is as one that glueth a potsherd together, and as he that walketh one from a sound sleep. He that telleth a tale to a fool speaketh to one in a slumber. When he had told his tale, he will say, What is the matter? If children live honestly and have wherewithal, they shall cover the baseness of their parents. But children being haughty through disdain and want of nurture do stain the nobility of their kindred. Weep for the dead, for he had lost the light, and weep for the fool, for he wanted understanding. Make a little weeping for the dead, for he is at rest, but the life of the fool is worse than death. 7 days do men mourn for him that is dead, but for a fool and an ungodly man all the days of his life. Talk not much with a fool, and go not to him that had no understanding. Beware of him, lest thou have trouble, and thou shalt never be defiled with his fooleries. Depart from him, and thou shalt find rest, and never be disquieted with madness. What is heavier than lead, and what is the name thereof but a fool? Sand and salt and a mass of iron is easier to bear than a man without understanding. As timber girt and bound together in a building cannot be loosened with shaking, so the heart that is established by advised counsel shall fear at no time. A heart settled upon a thought of understanding is as fair plastering on the wall of a gallery. Pale set on an high place will never stand against the wind, so a fearful heart in the imagination of a fool cannot stand against any fear. He that picketh the eye with make tears to fall, and he that picketh the heart make it to show her knowledge. Whoso casteth a stone at the birds fray them away, and he that upbraideth his friend breaketh friendship. Though thou drawest a sword at thy friend, yet despair not, for there may be a returning to favor. If thou hast opened thy mouth against thy friend, fear not, for there may be a reconciliation, except for upbraiding, or pride, or disclosing of secrets, or a treacherous womb. For these things every friend will depart. Be faithful to thy neighbor in his poverty, that thou mayest rejoice in his prosperity. Abide steadfast unto him in the time of his trouble, that thou mayest be an heir with him in his heritage. For a mean estate is not always to be contemned, nor the rich that is foolish to be had in admiration. As the vapor and smoke of a furnace go before the fire, so rivalings before blood. I will not be ashamed to defend a friend, neither will I hide myself from him. And if any evil happen unto me by him, every one that heareth it will beware of him. Who shall set a watch before my mouth, and a seal of wisdom upon my lips, that I fall not suddenly by them, and that my tongue destroy me not? Almighty God of higher, Father and Governor of all my whole life, lead me not to their counsel, and let me not fall by them. Who will set scourges over my thoughts, and the discipline of wisdom over my heart, that they spare me not for my ignorance at it, and it pass not by my sins. Lest my ignorance increase and my sins abound to my destruction, and I fall before mine adversaries, and my enemy rejoice over me, whose hope is far from thy mercy. O mighty God of higher, Father and mighty God of my life, give me not a proud look, but turn away from thy servant always a haughty mind. Turn away from me vain hopes and concupiscence, and thou shalt hold him up that is desirous always to serve thee. Let not the greediness of the belly nor lust of the flesh take hold of me, and give not over me thy servant into an imprudent mind. Hear, O you children, the discipline of the mouth. He that keepeth it shall never be taken in his lips. The sinner shall be left in his foolishness, but the evil speaker and the proud shall fall thereby. Accustom not thy mouth to swearing, neither use thyself to the naming of the Holy One. For as a servant that is continually beaten shall not be without a blue mark, so he that sweareth and nameth mighty God of high continually shall not be faultless. A man that useth much swearing shall be filled with iniquity, and the plague shall never depart from his house. If he shall offend, his sin shall be upon him, and if he acknowledge not his sin, he maketh a double offense. And if he swear in vain, he shall not be innocent, but his house shall be full of calamities. There is a word that is clothed about with death. Mighty God of higher, grant that it be not found in the heritage of Jacob, for all such things shall be far from the godly, and they shall not wallow in their sins. Use not thy mouth to intemperate swearing, for therein is the word of sin. Remember thy father and thy mother when thou sittest among great men. Be not forgetful before them, and so thou by thy custom become a fool, and wish that thou hadst not been born, and curse they day of thy nativity. The man that is accustomed to opprobrious words will never be reformed all the days of his life. Two sorts of men multiply sin, and the third will bring wrath. A hot mind is a burning fire, it will never be quenched till it be consumed. A fornicator in the body of his flesh will never cease till he had kindled a fire. All bread is sweet to a whoremonger, he will not leave off till he die. A man that breaketh wedlock, saying thus in his heart, Who seeth me? I am compassed about with darkness, the walls cover me, and nobody seeth me. What need I to fear? The Most High will not remember my sins. Such a man only feareth the eyes of men, and knoweth not that the eyes of mighty God higher, or 10,000 times brighter than the sun, beholding all the ways of men, and considering the most secret parts. He knew all things ere ever they were created, so also after that were perfected he looked upon them all. This man shall be punished in the streets of the city, and where he suspected not he shall be taken. Thus shall it be also with the wife that leaveth her husband, and bringeth in an heir by another. For first she had disobeyed the law of the Most High, and secondly she had trespassed against her own husband, and thirdly she had played the whore in idolatry, and brought children by another man. She shall be brought out into the congregation of inquisition. She shall be made of her children. Her children shall not take root, and her branches shall bring forth no fruit. She shall leave her memory to be cursed, and her reproach shall not be blotted out. And they that remain shall know that there is nothing better than to fear mighty God Ahiah, and that there is nothing sweeter than to take heed unto his commandments of mighty God Ahiah. It is a great glory to follow mighty God Ahiah, and to be received of him is long life. Wisdom shall praise herself, and shall glory in the midst of her people. In the congregation of the Most High shall she open her mouth and triumph before his power. I came out of the mouth of the Most High and covered the earth as a cloud. I dwelt in the high places, and my throne is in a cloudy pillar. I alone compassed the circuit of heaven, and walked in the bottom of the deep, in the waves of the sea, and in all the earth, and in every person, in people, and nation I got a possession. With all these I sought rest, and in whose inheritance shall I abide? So the Creator of all things gave me a commandment, and he that made me caused me my tabernacle to rest, and said, Let thy dwelling be in Jacob, and thine inheritance in Israel. He created me from the beginning, before the world, and I shall never fail. In the holy tabernacle I served before him, and so was I established in Zion. Likewise in the beloved city he gave me rest, and in Jerusalem was my power. And I took root in an honorable people, even in the portion of mighty God Ahiah's inheritance. I was exalted like a cedar in Lebanon, and as a cypress tree upon the mountains of Hermon. I was exalted like a palm tree in Engedi, and as a rose plant in Jericho, as a fair olive tree in a pleasant field, and grew up as a plane tree by the water. I gave a sweet smell like cinnamon and aspalattus, and I yielded a pleasant odor like the best myrrh, as galbanum and onyx and sweet storix, and as the fume of frankincense in the tabernacle. As the turpentine tree I stretched out my branch, and my branches are the branches of honor and grace. As the vine brought I forth pleasant savor, and my flowers are the fruit of the honor and riches. I am the mother of fair love, and fear, and knowledge, and holy hope. I therefore, being eternal, am given to all my children which are named of him. Come unto me, all you that be desirous of me, and fill yourselves with my fruits. For my memorial is sweeter than honey, and mine inheritance than the honeycomb. That they that eat me shall yet be hungry, and they that drink me shall yet be thirsty. He that obeyeth me shall never be confounded, and they that work by me shall not do amiss. All these things are the book of the covenant of the Most High God Ahiah, even the law which Moses commanded for an heritage unto the congregation of Jacob. Faint not to be strong in mighty God Ahiah, that he may confirm you, cleave unto him. For mighty God Ahiah is mighty God alone, and besides him there is no other Savior. He filleth all things with his wisdom, as Pison and as Tigris in the time of the new fruits. He maketh the understanding to abound like Euphrates, and as Jordan in the time of the harvest. He maketh the doctrine of knowledge appear as the light, and as Gion in the time of vintage. The first, excuse me a second. Okay, we're going to back that up to chapter 24, verse 29. For her thoughts are more than the sea, and her counsels profounder than the great deep. I also came out as a brook from a river, and as a conduit into a garden. I said, I will water my best garden, and will water abundantly my garden bed, And lo, my brooks became a river, and my river became a sea. I will yet make doctrine to shine as the morning, and will send forth her light afar off. I will yet pour out doctrine as prophecy, and leave it to all ages forever. Before that I have not labored for myself only, but for all them that seek wisdom. In 3 things I was beautified, and stood up beautiful before mighty God Ahiah and men, the unity of brethren, the love of neighbors, a man and a wife that agreed together. 3 sorts of men my soul hated, and I am greatly offended at their life: a poor man that is proud, a rich man that is a liar, and an old idolater that doeth. If thou hast gathered nothing in thy youth, how canst thou find anything in thine age? Or how comely a thing is judgment for gray hairs, and for ancient men to know counsel. Oh, how commonly is the wisdom of old men, and understanding and counsel to men of honor. Much experience is the crown of old men, and the fear of mighty God Ahiah is their glory. There be 9 things which I have judged in my heart to be happy, and the 10th I will utter with my tongue: a man that have joy of his children, and he that liveth to see the fall of his enemy. Well is him that dwelleth with a wife of understanding, and that had not slipped into his tongue, and that had not served a man more unworthy than himself. Well is him that hath founded prudence, and he that speaketh in ears of them that will hear. O how great is he that findeth wisdom, yet it is there none above him that feareth mighty God Ahiah. But the love of mighty God Ahiah passeth all things, for illumination. He that holdeth it, whereto shall he be likened. The fear of mighty God Ahiah is the beginning of his love, and faith is the beginning of cleaving unto him. Give me any plague but the plague of the heart, and any wickedness but the wickedness of a woman, and any affliction but the affliction from them that hate me, and any revenge but the revenge of my enemies. There is no head above the head of a serpent, and there is no wrath above the wrath of an enemy. I had rather dwell with a lion and a dragon than to keep house with a wicked woman. The wickedness of a woman changeth her face, and darkened her countenance like sackcloth. Her husband shall sit among his neighbors, and when he heareth it shall sigh bitterly. All wickedness is but little to the wickedness of a woman. Let the portion of a sinner fall upon her. As the climbing up a sandy way is to the feet of the aged, so is a wife full of words to a quiet man. Stumble not at the beauty of a woman, and desire her not for pleasure. A woman, if she maintain her husband, is full of an angry imprudence and much reproach. A wicked woman abateth the courage, making an heavy countenance and a wounded heart. A woman that will not comfort her husband in distress maketh weak hands and feeble knees. Of the woman came the beginning of sin, and through her we all die. Give the water no passage, neither a wicked woman liberty to gad abroad. If she go not as thou wouldest have her, cut her off from thy flesh, and give her a bill of divorce, and let her go. Blessed is the man that had a virtuous wife, for the number of his days shall be doubled. A virtuous woman rejoiceth her husband, and he shall fulfill the years of his life in peace. A good wife is a good portion, which shall be given in the portion of them that fear mighty God Ahiah. Whether a man be rich or poor, if he have had a good heart toward Ahiah, mighty God, he shall at all times rejoice with a cheerful countenance. There be 3 things that mine heart feared, and for the 4th I was sore afraid: the slander of a city, the gathering together of an unruly multitude, and a false accusation, and all these are worse than death. But a grief of heart and sorrow is a woman that is jealous over another woman, and a scourge of the tongue which communicated with all. An evil wife is a yoke shaken to and fro. He that had hold of her is as though he had a scorpion. A drunken woman and a gatter abroad causeth great anger, and she will not cover her own shame. The whoredom of a woman may be known in her haughty looks and eyelids. If thy daughter be shameless, keep her in straitly, lest she abuse herself through overmuch liberty. Watch over an imprudent eye, and marvel not if she trespass against thee. She will open her mouth as a thirsty traveler when he had found a fountain, and drink of every water near her. By every hedge will she sit down, and open her quiver against every arrow. The grace of a wife delighted her husband, and her discretion will fatten his bones. A silent and loving woman is a gift of mighty God Ahia, and there is nothing so much worth as a mind well instructed. A shamefaced and faithful woman is a double grace, and her continent mind cannot be valued. As the sun when it ariseth in the high heaven, so is the beauty of a good wife in the ordering of her house. As the clear light is upon the holy candlestick, so is the beauty of the face in ripe age. As the golden pillars are upon the sockets of silver, so are the fair feet with a constant heart. My son, keep the flower of thine age sound, and give not thy strength to strangers. When thou hast gotten a fruitful possession through all the fields, sow it with thine own seed, trusting in the goodness of thy stock. So thy race which thou leavest shall be magnified, having the confidence of their good descent. And harlot shall be accounted as spittle, but a married woman is a tower against death to her husband. A wicked woman is given as a portion to a wicked man, but a godly woman is given to him that feareth mighty God Ahia. A dishonest woman contemneth shame, but an honest woman will reverence her husband. A shameless woman shall be counted as a dog, but she that is shamefaced will fear Ahia. A woman that honored her husband shall be judged wise of all, but she that dishonored him in her pride shall be counted ungodly of all. A loud crying woman and a scold shall be sought out to drive away the enemies. There be two things that grieve my heart, and the third maketh me angry: a man of war that suffered poverty, and a man of understanding that are not set by, and one that returneth from righteousness to sin. Mighty God Ahia prepared such an one for the sword. A merchant shall hardly keep himself from doing wrong, and a huckster shall not be freed from sin. Many have sinned for a small matter, and he that seeketh for abundance will turn his eyes away. As a nail sticketh fastened between the joinings of the stones, so doth sin stick close between buying and selling. Unless a man hold himself diligently in the fear of mighty God Ahia, his house shall soon be overthrown. And when one sitteth with a sieve, the refuse remaineth, so the filth of man in his talk. The furnace proveth the potter's vessel, so the trial of man is in his reasoning. The fruit declared if the tree have been dressed, so is the utterance of a conceit in the heart of man. Praise no man before thou hearest him speak, for this is the trial of men. If thou followest righteousness, thou shalt obtain her, and put her on as a glorious long robe. The birds will resort unto their light, so will truth return unto them that practice in her. As the lion lieth in wait for the prey, so sin for them that work iniquity. The discourse of a godly man is always with wisdom, but a fool changeth as the moon. If thou be among the indiscreet, observe the time, but be continually among men of understanding. The discourse of fools is irksome, and their sport is the wantonness of sin. The talk of him that sweareth much maketh the hair stand upright, and their brawls make one stop his ears. The strife of the proud is bloodshedding, and their rivalings are grievous to the ear. Whoso discovered secret loseth his credit, and shall never find friend to his mind. Love thy friend, and be faithful unto him, but if thou betrayest his secrets, follow no one more after him. For as a man hath destroyed his enemy, so hast thou lost the love of thy neighbor. As one that letteth a bird go out of his hand, so hast thou let thy neighbor go, and shalt not get him again. Follow after him no more, for he is too far off. He is as a roe escaped out of a snare. As for a wound, it may be bound up, and after raveling, there may be reconcilement, but he that betrayeth secrets is without hope. He that winketh with the eye worketh evil, and he that knoweth him will depart from him. When thou art present, he will speak sweetly, and will admire thy words, but at the last he will writhe his mouth, and slander thy sayings. I have hated many things, but nothing like him, for mighty God Ahijah will hate him. Whoso casteth a stone on high casteth it on his own head, and a deceitful stroke shall make wounds. Whoso diggeth a pit shall fall therein, and he that setteth up a trap shall be taken therein. He that worketh mischief, it shall fall upon him, and he shall not know whence it cometh. Mockery and reproach are from the proud, but vengeance as a lion shall lie in wait for them. They that rejoice at the fall of the righteous shall be taken in the snare, and anguish shall consume them before they die. Malice and wrath, even these are abominations, and the sinful man shall have them both. He that reverent shall find vengeance from mighty God Ahijah, and he will surely keep his sins in remembrance. Forgive thy neighbor the hurt that he had done unto thee, so shall thy sins also be forgiven when thou prayest. One man beareth hatred against another, and doth he seek pardon from mighty God Ahijah? He showeth no mercy to a man which is like himself, and doth he ask forgiveness of his own sins? If he that is but flesh nourish hatred, who will entreat for pardon of his sins? Remember thy end, and let enmity, which is hatred, cease. Remember corruption and death, and abide in the commandments. Remember the commandments, and bear no malice to thy neighbor. Remember the covenant of the highest, and wink at ignorance. Abstain from strife, and thou shalt diminish thy sins. For a furious man will kindle strife. A sinful man disquiet friends, and maketh debate among them that be at peace. As the matter of the fire is, so it burneth, and as a man's strength is, so is his wrath. And according to his riches his anger riseth, and the stronger they are which contend, the more they will be inflamed. And hasty contention kindled a fire, and hasty fighting shedded blood. If thou blow the spark, it shall burn. If thou spit into it, it shall be quenched, and both these come out of thy mouth. Curse the whisperer and double-tongued, for such have destroyed many that were at peace. A backbiting tongue had disquieted many, and driven them from nation to nation. Strong cities had it pulled down, and overthrown the house of great men. Backbiting tongue had cast out virtuous women, and deprived them of their labors. Whoso hearken unto it shall never find rest, and never dwell quietly. The stroke of the whip maketh marks in the flesh, but the stroke of the tongue breaketh the bones. Many have fallen by the edge of the sword, but not so many as have fallen by the tongue. Well is he that is defended through the venom thereof, who had not drawn the yoke thereof, nor had been bound in her bands. For the yoke thereof is a yoke of iron, and the bands thereof are bands of brass. The death thereof is an evil death, the grave were better than it. It shall not have rule over them that fear it, mighty God Ahijah, neither shall they be burned with the flame thereof. Such as forsake mighty God Ahijah shall fall into it, and it shall burn in them, and not be quenched. It shall be sent upon them as a lion, and devour them as a leopard. Look that thou hedge thy possession about with thorns, and bind up thy silver and gold, and weigh thy words in a balance, and make a door and bar for thy mouth. Beware thou slide not by it, lest thou fall before him that lieth in wait. He that is merciful will lend unto his neighbor, and he that strengtheneth his hand keepeth the commandments. Lend to thy neighbor in time of his need, and pay thou thy neighbor again in due season. Keep thy word and deal faithfully with him, and thou shalt always find the thing that is necessary for thee. Many went Many, when a thing was lent them, reckoned it to be found, and put them to trouble that helped them. Till he had received, he will kiss a man's hand, and for his neighbor's money he will speak subtly. But when he shall repay, he will prolong the time, and return words of grief, and complain of the time. If he prevail, he shall hardly receive the half, and he will count as if he had found it. If not, he had deprived him of his money, and he had gotten him an enemy without cause. He paid him with cursings and railings, and for honor he will pay him disgrace. Many therefore have refused to lend for another man's ill dealing, fearing to be defrauded. Yet have thou patience with a man in poor estate, and delay not to show him mercy. Help the poor for the commandment's sake, and turn him not away because of his poverty. Lose the money for thy brother and thy friend, and let it not rust under a stone to be lost. Lay up thy treasure according to the commandments of the Most High Yah, and it shall bring thee more profit than gold. Shut up alms in thy storehouses, and it shall deliver thee from all affliction. It shall fight for thee against thine enemies better than a mighty shield and strong spear. An honest man is surety for his neighbor, but he that is imprudent will forsake him. Forget not thy friendship of thy surety, for he had given his life for thee. A sinner will overthrow the good estate of his surety, and he that is of an unthankful mind will leave him in danger that delivered him. Stewardship had undone many of good estate, and shaken them as a wave of the sea. Mighty men had it driven from their houses, so that they wandered among strange nations. A wicked man transgressing the commandments of mighty God Ahiah shall fall into a stewardship, and he that undertaketh and followed other men's business for gain shall fall into the suits. Help thy neighbor according to thy power, and beware that thou thyself fall not into the same. The chief thing for life is water, and bread, and clothing, and an house to cover shame. Better is the life of a poor man in a mean cottage than delicate fare in another man's house. Be it little or much, hold thee contented, that thou hear not the reproach of thy house. For it is a miserable life to go from house to house, for where thou art a stranger, thou darest not open thy mouth. Thou shalt entertain and feast, and have no thanks. Moreover, thou shalt hear bitter words. Come, thou stranger, and furnish a table, and feed me out of thy that thou hast ready. Give place, thou stranger, to an honorable man. My brother cometh to be lodged, and I have need of mine house. These things are grievous to a man of understanding, that upbraiding of house room, and reproaching of the lender. And we're going to stop at that. The wisdom of Sirach. Thank you for listening. We will continue with chapters 30.1 tomorrow. Thank you for listening. Amen.